Hi everyone, I'm Vidhi Chugh, a data transformist and an AI strategist. A large part of what I do relates with the topic that I've chosen for talk today, which is designing a successful enterprise level AI strategy. So I'll take you through the agenda, what we are going to discuss in the next session. We'll first start with defining what is a strategy and why do enterprises typically create a strategy for the initiatives that they're looking for. Once we understand the enterprise level business strategy, we'll next move and gravitate towards what is different when we create a is AI level strategy. Understanding of AI strategy helps us build and choose the right AI initiatives for the organization to help them achieve their business goals. Towards the end of the talk, I'll also give certain considerations which will help you take the AI strategy from just a planning phase to an implementation phase. So, without further ado, let's get straight into the agenda. Okay, so to understand what is a strategy, data lies at the epicenter of all business strategies. The rate at which data has been generated over the last couple of years, ever since the outbreak of the pandemic, has been unprecedented. The organizations have become data rich and they want to use this data asset to be able to understand their end users and customers better, which in turn improves their business. Now, there are multiple ways that they can achieve this. One of the way is to become more customer centric, which is they can try to understand what is the preference of a customer, what pages are they looking for more, what is leading to the conversions, where exactly is the drop off happening, what else can we do to make sure that we are able to retain customers a lot more. So this is one dimension which is focused on the customer side. Now there could be another dimension that business would like to focus on, and that is on operational efficiencies. These are certain internal processes where businesses can use data to improve and implement the cost measures. For example, a lot of businesses are adopting cloud model, but might not be knowing the right way to accommodate cloud infrastructure, the most optimal way that they can use cloud resources, which could be leading to exorbitant prices. So that's where cloud economics model comes into the picture. So, as part of cost effective cost measures, the organizations can try to use data, all the data driven analysis that can help them improve the operational efficiencies. That's another measure that they can use data to transform their business. So, all that I discussed now is about using data driven insights to transform their business, which is called as digital transformation. In order to achieve that objective, businesses position themselves as to what they want to achieve over the next 3 to 5 years. And that becomes the strategic goal. Strategic goal, for example, if I pick another 5 years, so that's a multi year journey where a business wants to attain a process by the end of 5 years. Now, a 5 year goal needs to be broken down into what should be achieved in this current year and the years succeeding to that. Again, if I am now narrowing it down from 5 year to the current year and the year thereafter, from each year it now then gets broken down into quarterly planning. So all those initiatives that are going into making sure how to map a broad level objective at a business level to a very well defined, very well curated goals that can help the business develop a roadmap that can help them achieve those goals and the objectives that are set up for the next 3 to 5 years. Now, you must be thinking there are multiple initiatives that can be incorporated to start acting towards those goals. Data is everywhere. You don't really need to know which business units are key to the business that they need to put focus on, which initiatives should be prioritized. There are multiple ideas and experiments that look really good on paper, they look very promising, and you ideally want to start with all of them at once. But in real life, you really can't do that because time is of essence. You're also constrained by resources, and there is only limited things that you can achieve and implement. That again leads back to the problem of prioritization. That's precisely what a strategy does for a business. It helps you prioritize the key initiatives that can take you from your current position, for example, say position A, to what you want to see yourself in 5 years. That's the desired state that the business wants to be in, that is maybe position B. Out of all the ways that you can move from position A to position B, what are those key initiatives that you need to pick and put focus on to be able to achieve them in a most optimal manner? So, if I have to summarize, a strategy is not just goal settings. It is often confused with setting the goals, but not really giving you how to achieve those goals. So, strategy also focuses on the how part, which tells you what is the plan and the roadmap to take your strategy from planning to a successful implementation stage. So, why do enterprises need a strategy? A large part of it is what we have already understood by now. But let's think, if there is no strategy in the first place, how would the situation look like? In other words, if I have to say, what does lack of strategy do to the business? To be very honest, it creates chaos. You really don't know where to start. There are multiple initiatives, multiple projects. Prioritization is the key, but it's easier said than done. It's generally a problem of cold start. How do you decide what is the right trade off? By the time you keep on fine tuning the strategy, the plan, the guidelines, the roadmap, versus you start taking action on it, how far can you go into refining your strategy versus being biased towards taking action? So you have to, at certain point, start initiating the project, not really waiting for the ideal inputs being available, not really having everything being in line and in sync, and yet you have to take a move. But that's again a trade-off which is very context specific. But assuming you start with a certain project, and to your surprise, the project was not the right one to be chosen at the beginning. It may be because the project required certain technology which was not available in your organization at that time. You might be taking 6 months, maybe a 1 year, but after 1.5 years, you would be responsible and accountable for start delivering the value out of the initiatives that you started with a year and a half ago. So choosing the wrong project can altogether take you off the road. It can, you might not be even having a leadership support after a certain point in time. There are a lot of trials you are doing, you are repeating the experiments and trying to work it out. But if there are no rewards and no ROI of the input is appearing at the end of 1.5 years, you might really have to take a difficult call of killing the project. So it kind of leads you into a takes you a step back, and this makes you feel the importance of devising the right strategy in the first place. Sometimes the organization choose low hanging fruits. So what are those low hanging things that they really try to tap into? Low hangings are the easy quick wins which can set your pace to momentum to start picking the next objective goals. The difficulty in technology adoption itself is not one thing. You need to really have the champions who are supporting your initiatives and evangelizing the product that you're building or the services or the solutions that you're building across the enterprise. You need to have that kind of support from each of the stakeholders coming from cross collaboration. Those champions need to be with you, aligned with you, to help propagate your solution into the enterprise. So we now understand what a strategy is and what lack of strategy can do to the business. But what is so different about AI strategy? What extra somebody needs to do to make sure that AI strategy is very well defined and it sets up the organization to success? Well, AI component in itself is carries a lot of variability. To start with, AI algorithms are heavily biased towards data. They are dependent on data, and with data, it needs to be not just the availability of data, but the quality of data is very important. Needless to say, a bad data that goes into the algorithm, only the bad output is supposed to come. So we need to make sure that the initiatives that we are signing up for the strategic goals need to have a pattern in it that the machine learning algorithms can model, and the data should be of utmost quality. A lot of measures, a heavy duty work towards maintaining the right quality of data should be already taken care of before the project starts. And the next part is being aware of the probabilistic nature of AI solutions. So, whenever we develop an AI algorithm, how do we decide the algorithm is doing us any good? So, this measurement is done by a metric called as evaluation criteria, which tells us how good a model is. For example, it could be precision, recall, accuracy, F1 score. Pick any measure. And when you use that measure to define how good a model is, for example, F1 score is 80%, that tells you an idea that the 20% of the times the AI algorithm might not be giving the right output. Is your business really on board with that? Or are they still looking for a deterministic solution which might not be scalable but is 100% accurate? So, this is the trade off and the call that the AI strategist needs to take care of. The next is black box nature of algorithms, which is closely tied with the probabilistic solution. So almost all the AI algorithms are inherently black box by nature, barring a few, where you have certain understanding of what is the relation between each input variable and how it impacts the target outcome. But in general, all the sophisticated advanced deep learning based algorithms are not easy to understand. Any algorithm predictions that come out of those models needs to be explainable. For example, it also brings in ethical concerns. So if you really don't know how an algorithm is giving a prediction, and those predictions might be having an impact on a certain strata of the society, then it leads to ethical and regulatory concerns regarding that AI solution. Apart from explainability component, which is specifically for the end user in mind, the algorithm needs to be very glass box, so that if you put a model into production and the predictions quality start degrading, then how would a developer or a data scientist who has built that algorithm would get to know what is going wrong with the algorithm to make sure that they can go back, debug, and fix that quality of data, whether it's actually a problem with the algorithmic learning or the data itself in the input or the origin was not of the right quality. All of this is only possible when the developer also knows what exactly is coming out of the algorithm and how to calibrate that output. So that again takes us to the next step, which is of deciding the evaluation metric. I briefly touched it before, but this is a very important and fundamental component. Sometimes the algorithm is right, the data is right, and the output is also right, but the way you are inferring the output might not be right. For example, deciding the right metric to evaluate the goodness of model needs to be in sync with what business objective was kept in mind while designing this AI solution. For example, a simple thing such as how much a 1% drop in precision impacts the dollar value of the business. Or does it kind of, an improvement of 1% precision, how much dollar value does it bring on the table? So, trying to relate the scientific measures from the algorithmic side with the business metric, what nudge does it give to the business? That was the original objective with which this algorithm was designed in the first place. All these measures are giving you an idea about how a AI strategist would need to think of different levers while designing an AI strategy. That takes us to the next step, which is understanding the role of AI strategist. A large part of it we understand by now, but let's talk about the formal definition of an AI strategist. So, AI strategist, by definition, is the one person who is responsible for laying down the roadmap for all the AI products and services of that enterprise. AI strategist understands the business problems and knows which of the business objectives are really solvable by using the power of AI algorithms. The strategist needs to have an expertise into project management skills, but having said that, he or she also needs to be very well versed with AI workflows and its capabilities, because a large part of it needs to have an overlap with ethical and regulatory concerns. You might really start a project, you have a data in your database, which is of good quality, there is a lot of pattern and signal into it. You have the compute power and you start the project. But later you get to know that maybe there was a bias in your machine learning algorithm pipeline, and because of which it's not giving a fair and unbiased prediction to the end user. And before you bring it out in the market, you are hit by a snag of ethical and regulatory concerns. That's where it's very important for an AI strategist to incorporate these measures while laying down the strategy right in the first place. Before you go deep, neck deep into building the project, where you have to call it off or maybe make a lot of adjustments thereafter, which is again very time consuming process to make sure that it's serving the humanity in an equitable way. So all in all, if I have to summarize, an AI strategist is an orchestrator who is collaborating with cross-functional teams. There are not just data scientists or business leaders that they interact with. They have to interact with data engineers and the one who starts consuming the data and testing the data and the predictions that are coming out of the model, understanding the model predictions and taking it back to the business leaders. There are a lot of work that an AI strategist has to do, and it can only become successful if they have very well alignment with the champions from all the teams possible. So how does an AI strategist has an ability to choose the right project? What are the various factors or criteria that they put a project or an initiative through to understand whether it should be prioritized for the strategic goals or not? So towards the picture here, in the green color, there's actually a color coding. The green ones are the general software engineering criteria that are typical for any software, traditional software. AI specific concerns have been laid down in the bottom in the gray part. So I'll start with the first one, which says cost. So all the projects that are supposed to be initiated are measured through the lens of cost. How much will it cost in terms of time or in terms of resources? How many person hours will it take to build this solution? And what is the level of effort? Is it a really complex solution? And is it something which I can leverage from the open source? So all those things go into cost measure, evaluating the cost. And then next comes is that you always start a project with a small proof of concept. But before you go down that path, you need to have an understanding of whether the solution is scalable in the end or not. You really can't start developing proof of concepts for all the possible initiatives. The third one is again related to cost, which is a build or buy decision. It's a trade off. Which component of your AI initiative do you think should be built in house, or is it something which is better off if bought from outside third party vendors? So that's also a part that comes into the cost measure. The next one is value addition. Which business objective or strategic goal does it align to? Is it helping in improving the customer retention, customer acquisition, or is it about maintaining the cost efficiencies? And this value addition has to be adjusted after the cost measure. So, what net value you bring on the table is the deciding factor for prioritizing a particular initiative. The last one on the software side is what how does success looks like? What is the success criteria? How would I evaluate the goodness of the initiative itself? When do I declare that this particular metric, if it is hit, I can call my project or initiative a success? So these are certain measures for a traditional software. Now, next are the three ones which I've already discussed, but I'll give a brief touch here. Is having the right pattern in the data to start with, finding it also helps you develop that your business problem right in the first place was AI solvable. So you really picked the right technology for the right business problem. That mapping of business problem to the statistical problem is crucial for any AI initiative. You need to onboard with the probabilistic inherent nature of AI algorithms. And the third and the most important is the ethical and explainability part of your AI solutions. Now we understand what an AI strategy does and what are the key factors that an AI strategist considers while deciding and prioritizing the AI initiatives. But because you already have a strategy now in place, there are certain factors that you need to know while you go down the execution path when you are onto the ground implementing your AI initiatives. So the very first one that I would like to mention is not knowing the unknowns. You don't know what you don't know. These are the risks that you had not foreseen, and therefore you could not mitigate them right at the beginning. For example, you built a model, you prepared a proof of concept using a certain data, and that was showing potential returns. Maybe it was showing you an accuracy of 80%. But when you take that initiative and make it full scale, the the accuracy is not coming out anywhere near to 80%. Maybe it's around 60%, a little shy of that. And then you go down the path of finding the root cause of whether the sample itself is not the right was not right in the first place while building a POC, or the data distribution has changed since then. How frequently does the data change? Is it too volatile? Was it really measurable, or was there really a pattern, or we were trying to capture some volatile behavior? Then those kind of unknown territories where you need to explore, which which is something an AI strategist could not bake in while devising the strategy in the first place. The next is cross team collaboration. I cannot emphasize enough the significance of successful cross team collaboration. Like I mentioned before as well, you need to work with data engineers, data architects, the data scientists, the business leaders, data analytics, a lot of teams. And you cannot expect success without having all of them aligned and on board with your vision, which is crucial for the success of your project. The third one is infrastructure resources. Before you start a certain project, you need to understand the kind of technology or the infrastructure support it demands. For example, if you are starting a computer vision project, which is compute expensive, then you need to make sure that those are already being made available by the time you start the initiative. It should not act as a bottleneck for the team to keep waiting for the resource commissioning. And it could also be the upskilling that your team requires. For example, your team really does not have a prior experience of working with computer vision projects. So your AI strategist job or the team lead's job goes into finding whether your team is ready to get upskilled in by the time you start working on the project, or if your project really requires a deep expertise into computer vision, you would need to take a decision of hiring the computer vision scientist from outside. The fourth one, which is again very crucial, is who is accountable if the things go south. This is in a way tied to cross team collaboration. There are a lot of teams who are collaborating, and they might be just doing everything right within their scope of work. For example, a team who is responsible for getting you the data is just doing the right thing, but because they are not really tied up with the overall objective of the project, they are not taking the accountability of the success of the project. Maybe they are just doing successful part with respect to what has been asked for them to deliver. So whose responsibility is it to make sure all the teams are signing up for the success and are delivering to the best possible? A situation that I can give you is, for example, if any person in one of the teams find that there could be a potential issue in this project going forward, then it is their responsibility and accountability to bring it forward as early in the project as possible, so that together all of the teams can brainstorm and find a solution to it before they go neck deep into the project. The next one is your AI strategist aware of AI fundamentals and the concepts? There are a lot of AI related constraints and concerns, which, for example, are ethical and legal, that need to be decided when you're prioritizing a certain project. It's better not to have a bottleneck because of those constraints, and then your project does not really kick off. It's better to pick up certain other project which is free from these concerns, so that you have a momentum into the project and the objective overall. The last and the most important is you need to know who are the consumers of your AI applications. When you're building an AI initiative, might be building it for a particular business unit. But when you plan to scale it up, you need to know where else can your AI solution find use cases in your entire enterprise. Is it really cutting across various horizontals? And it might be finding use cases elsewhere in your organization as well. That gives you the benefit of scaling up. So you need to know who your potential consumers are and where the feedback can come from that can help your AI model to improve further. So that's it. With this, we have come towards the end of the talk. And in this session, we have discussed what a strategy is, why do enterprise need strategy, what kind of chaos it can create if you really don't have a strategy in the first place. What does it mean to have an AI strategy? And how does an AI strategist start prioritizing various initiatives to find out the most eligible ones that they can consider taking forward to meet the business objectives in near term? So if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me via LinkedIn. Thank you for listening.